There are so many ways actually they can professionalize poetry. Like we have publishing. Young poets can understand the art of poetry. Poetry, is not just a gamble. You have to understand the art.
Okay.
And by understanding, knowing what to write, how best your work should be edited, packaged, and when you're able to do that, they're able to publish and sell their books.
Okay.
And also we have performance poetry.
Okay.
Performance, of course, encompasses so many things. There's theatrical, and then there's just a spoken word.
Okay.
The theatrical involves many other improvisations, you can add dance to it, you can add music to it,
Still poetry.
Still poetry.
Okay.
Because also, from the old tradition, that riddles were also poetry and folk tales. So when you add that in theater, it becomes a bigger experience. But spoken word, of course, is still, just poetry being expressed on stage.
All right.
So poets can be booked like musicians.
Okay.
Maybe there's an organization, maybe there's maybe some kind of forum.
All right.
They invite poets to write and perform.
Okay.
And then they're paid like musicians.
Let's look at it in this way where poets are invited to perform. You're given a theme of the event, for example.
Yes.
So you think about what you're going to say about the theme. So it's the theme that drives you.
Yeah. Yes, when they give you a theme, you're supposed to think in terms of the theme. And
Right.
also you're supposed to understand what kind of organization, what kind of audience is going to be. What should be your pointers?
Okay.
Yeah, so we write around that line, and so that we are able to deliver, and also those that are invited us to perform are able to appreciate because we're on the theme and we understand what they are trying to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And poetry. I love the fact that I've been able to see some videos on YouTube about poets, both locally. I think the other Ugandan poet I've got a chance to at least see some videos is George. I think it's George Mpanga.
Yes.
So when you look at the issue about poets, I should say, do you think in terms of payment, are they being paid accordingly? Or it is just small pay? Because some artists, as people who I actually talk to from the sector, would say musicians are the only ones that are considered to be the bigger players in the entertainment sector, and so they actually earn more than any other part. Do the poets earn good money?
Okay, not entirely.
Okay.
I feel like poets came late in the business of poetry.
Ah, okay.
Yet, actually, musicians borrow the concepts from poets. Their lyrics are poetic, most of it.
All right.
So, of course, musicians earn more. Poets are not, given much because people are still getting to understand poetry. So when you put a musician on stage and a poet, people tend to gravitate towards the musician, not the poet. Unlike today, of course, where I think people are getting more aware that there is actually poetry happening. There is the business of poetry happening. People are getting more aware.
Okay.
But still, the payment is still less.
Oh.
Yeah, so we are still working around that. But of course, poets like George Mpanga, he's in the UK. I think he has been able to achieve and go ahead as a poet. So he actually gets paid like a musician.
Because I wanted to ask, sometimes you listen to a poem and it sounds more like music, like someone is rapping it. The other time you see it's like a complete band. How do you differentiate these things? And how do you charge accordingly? If it is a spoken poem, does it come cheaper? Or if it's one filled up with performance, is it more expensive? Which is which?
Actually, it depends on the poet. Rap originally came from poetry.
Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes some poems can start, but it's not rap. It's usually the style that takes it away. So when you try to conceptualize that, for music and, and poetry, I feel like there's still a difference, though some people mistake rap for poetry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I forgot to ask about Eco Minds.
Yes.
How many people make up the Eco Minds, and how far have you gone with your poetry business?
We are so far 9 poets, women.
Okay.
We started in 2019.
Right.
Yeah, at the time we started, of course, people are still getting around the whole poetry thing.
Okay.
From the first shows we started and up to date, I feel like there has been a tremendous growth, and the audience has grown also considerably. considering from the first time we started. So
Okay.
I feel like it's a good thing for us because now we come on social media or when you go to places, they can identify us. You are the EcoMinds poets, and it's good for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the journey is, should say 3 years, 2 years?
about 3 years.
About 3 years.
Yeah.
So normally, how do you perform? Is it a weekly, daily? I want to look at it as a business now. How is the performance calendar for you guys?
Usually we have 3 shows a year or 2.
Okay.
Like the first show is usually on March, Women's Day.
Okay.
It's always a must to be there. Then we go towards July, and then we have the last show sometimes in December. So we pick out different themes, you know, about society, the girl child, maybe mental health, and then we write poetry about it.
Right.
We script it, and then we rehearse the poems, and then we put up the show.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we normally do.
All right. Now, lastly, before we go into a break, after the break, I want to discuss more about poetry with your colleague who is also in here. So let us know something. Where is the future of poetry in Uganda, and what do you think the government should do from the arts sector to at least help poets in the country?
Okay, the future of poetry in Uganda is actually bright.
Okay.
Because we have seen how it has grown so far and how many people are consuming poetry today via books, via performances, and, you know, also in the different organizations. I feel like the government should recognize poets as an art form, the way it recognizes musicians, dancers, you know, and also actors and actresses. I feel like even when they're including, you know, like including the art forms, you know, for support, poets are always left out.
Oh,
yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, they're always left
so
out.
So it's the music and movies, maybe?
Yeah, the movies, yeah. But I feel like last year when we started the Association of Poets,
okay,
for the first time, they were able to recognize us. They asked us, poets do exist, they have an association.
Tell me more about the association, by the way.
Yeah, so it's the Poets Association of Uganda. It started around COVID time. We thought, like, as poets, if the other art forms are going to receive support, why shouldn't we also come together and go to the government and tell them we exist? We are an art form. So that's how the association came up together, and we are able to invite all poets in Uganda to join. Right now, I think there are over 500 poets in the association.
Okay.
Young poets in schools and also professional poets. So when we joined the National Cultural Forum, that also a body that has different art forms, musicians, filmmakers, and, you know. So that step forward was able to put us, you know, up there, to be recognized. And I feel like with this step, maybe the government will be able to, you know, offer more support to us as poets.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Carol, lastly, as you're summing up, your last remarks, and then I don't know if you can give us a poem in 1 minute as well. So you've got 2 minutes to run this show.
Yeah. Okay, my last remarks is poetry as a business is growing, and I feel like every poet should be able to package their work to get the best from the professional world as a poet. That includes the way their work looks and also the way they present themselves. And about a poem, just 2 lines.
Okay, sure.
The colonialists came with a rifle and a Bible, taught us how to pray with our eyes closed to an unseen God who hates our skin, while they ravaged our resources and plundered our once rich soil.
That sounds more like a poem, not like the others we had in primary of. We normally had AIDS, all those poems. After the break, we're getting back with another colleague from EcoMinds to discuss more about poetry business. Stick around. Good morning.